the replace temp with query technique helps us get rid of temporary variables in our code. Instead, we replace them with a query to a different method. This technique is great because it makes the code easier to read, reduces repetition, and encourages having each method responsible for only one thing. Hello guys, welcome again. Okay, before we dive into anything else, let's talk about what replace temp with query means. First, we have the term temp, which is short for temporary. In the context of the replace temp with query technique, the term temp refers to any temporary variable used to store intermediate results. Now, let's move on to query. In programming, a query is a method that helps us retrieve or calculate a specific information. We use queries to get data or perform calculations on existing data without changing the state of an object. So, when we say replace temp with query, we mean that instead of using temporary variables, we should use queries to get the information we need. Alright, the replace temp with query technique lies under the code extraction category in our refactoring techniques diagram. Now let's check out an example and see how to use this technique step by step. In this example, we'll start by multiplying the price of a product by its quantity to find the subtotal. As we said, in the separate query from modifier technique, we can create a separate method just for calculating the subtotal. By doing this, we can use this method anytime we need to calculate the subtotal in the future. Okay, as you can see, we didn't use the replace temp with query technique. Instead, we stored the result in a variable. The reason is that we'll be using this subtotal multiple times in our calculations. However, applying the replace temp with query technique here would be overkill for this situation. Alright, in the next two statements, we calculate the discount and then subtract it from the subtotal. For this part, we can use the replace temp with query technique. Okay, we created a new method called calculateDiscount. This method takes a decimal parameter and calculates the discount based on the given price. By doing this, we neatly encapsulate the discount calculation inside the calculateDiscount method. And we can calculate the total price in just one line of code. Alright, until now, we've been using the replace temp with query technique to replace the discount variable with a method or query called calculateDiscount. As you can see, after making this change, our code becomes easier to read and understand. It also makes the discount calculation more modular and reusable, which means we can use it in other parts of our code if needed. Additionally, it simplifies the code and reduces the need for extra variables by combining the discount calculation and subtraction into a single line. Okay, let's keep going. In this line of code, we figure out the tax and save it in a temporary variable called tax. Instead of using that variable, we can use a method called calculateTax and directly get the total price plus the calculated tax. Now, the tax calculation is done in the calculateTax method, and the total price with tax is calculated in just one line of code. This refactoring improves the readability of our code and makes the tax calculation more modular and reusable. As you can see, by replacing these temporary variables with query methods, we achieve two important benefits. First, we eliminate the need for storing intermediate results, which makes our code cleaner and more concise. Second, and perhaps more importantly, we enhance the clarity and self-explanatory nature of our code. Now, let's explore the step-by-step process of using the replace temp with query technique. Step 1. Identify the temporary variables in your code. Find variables that store intermediate results within a method or function. These variables are the ones we want to replace. Step 2. Evaluate if the temporary variable can be replaced with a query method. Ask yourself, does this temporary variable represent important information that can be extracted as a separate method? If the answer is yes, we move on to the next step. Step 3. Create a method that holds the logic previously performed by the temporary variable. Give this method a clear and descriptive name that explains its purpose. This method will replace the temporary variable and act as a query to retrieve the desired value. Step 4. Replace all occurrences of the temporary variable with calls to the newly created method. Make sure the method returns the same value as the temporary variable did. By following these steps, we can effectively apply the replace stamp with query technique and improve our code. Okay, done. See you soon.